Thank you for watching. I'm Giovanni Haqani. I wanted to comment a little bit about the future of the Republican Party. Um, at this rate, at the rate that they're progressing post-Trump, um, I don't feel that the Republican Party is heading in the right direction. Um, and of course, I'm not in the business of advising anyone, but um, I'm just here to make a few points, and I think those of us, those of you out there that are watching, um, who are conservative and consider themselves not Republicans, consider themselves conservative, because there is a clear difference there. Um, what you see right now in the Republican Party are not the conservatives that I grew up with. Um, they're, they're their platform is completely different from what I understood as what a conservative uh, person should be or conservative type of thinking is. Um, their, you know, their entire behavior during the Trump administration and post-Trump administration, we're looking at um, a basic downfall of the Republican Party, and possibly a creation of a third party. And when I say a third party, many years ago, I recall um, um, Ross Perot, 1992, when Clinton ran. I remember that's about the same time I got involved in politics, and because it was actually Ross Perot that kind of excited me into it by looking at his. Those of you who know Ross Perot is also know what his style was. He was a pretty unusual character, and he excited a lot of people into politics. I'm one of them. And he leaned more conservative. However, he had a lot of good ideas, and he had run against Clinton and George W. H. Bush, um, um, Bush Sr. And this is in '92, and Senior lost, and Bush Sr. lost, and Bill Clinton became president. But the Conservative Party of that era was a very different, or Republican Party of that era was completely different from what it is today. They have gone through some sort of a tunnel, okay, and come out of that tunnel completely looking like something that most of us don't recognize. Um, and I'm speaking strictly philosophically here. I'm not being partisan at this point, and I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. At this point, I'm an independent, so I feel like I can speak as an independent. Um, the Republican Party of today is not a conservative party because those are not conservative principles, what they are adhering to at this point in their platform. They're going to need to do some soul searching if they're going to survive, um, as the Republican Party. Um, they may not. They may actually end up dissolving that party, and there may be a third party like situation there. It's very possible. It's highly possible that this could happen. Most people are saying no. I think the Republican Party would actually survive this, and yeah, it will kind of get back to its roots, and Trump is gone, and they're looking to kind of move forward, and a lot of Republicans don't believe that Trump is going to come back. There is a few, of course. He has a core supporter base there that feels strongly that he's going to come back and run again if he's not stopped in some way, as far as like indictments or something like that that prevents him from running. But speaking of the Republican Party, if they're not um, if they decide not to adhere to their conservative principles, which we know are absolutely nothing. What you see right now is considered, you know, in my opinion, conservative to the most extent. There is some, yes, of course, there's some individuals there that you could say are, kind of like the true Republicans or conservatives. But there is a clear difference between a conservative and a Republican, at least from my understanding and the way I grew up with uh, the individuals that I hung out with that were conservative, and we would have debates, and they would go back and forth. We differ in ideologies, but there wasn't this kind of a hate there, or if you were not a Republican, you're the enemy. Uh, that that factor wasn't there, and that's precisely what I mean. And you know, the way I understood it, most of the conservative groups were not anti-immigrant. They were not, you know, all nationalist. How, when once we saw Trump came in, a lot of Republicans kind of fell in line and said, America first, let's isolate ourselves, we don't care about anybody else. Now, this is not who Ronald Reagan was. This is not who some of the other Republicans were. No matter who you look at, this is not the behavior that you saw from the previous conservative Republicans. Um, that said, I think Republican Party's got its work cut out for itself right now. They're going to have to do some soul searching and figure out what it is that they need to do. I personally would not like uh, to see, a third party come in. But if that's what's necessary, then that's what needs to happen. But the way the Republican Party is conducting itself currently is not sustainable. It won't survive. They will not survive it. They will not survive this current behavior. You're looking at some of the, ways that, they're looking at how to, pass these laws where they're basically disenfranchising certain voters, of minority African Americans, and so the Republican Party's got his work cut out for itself, and they're going to need to do some digging to figure out what it is that they need to um, do, and what it is that they need to adhere to in order to move into the future, because their future at this point looks somewhat bleak. Uh, you could try to suppress, as a Republican Party, and I'm speaking to them, you could try to suppress through laws and such a certain amount of voters, but here's what would happen. Eventually, those laws would get overturned, and you would lose your footing completely, not just in individual states, I'm talking about nationwide. Um, and I often, you know, during the campaign, previous campaign with Biden and Trump, we were looking at some of the ads coming out of that are made by the Lincoln Project. Steve Schmidt is the former campaign manager for John McCain, and I believe Rick Wilson. These guys are, to me, the true conservative thinkers. Okay, they're the true conservatives. And when you look at what they did, they severed ties with the current Republican Party and basically, uh, decided to go their way. So you know, when you look at some of their ads that are being put out there, it's clear as a bell that um, they are the true conservatives. They're the true Republicans, at least the Republicans I grew up with. So, in order for them to move forward, the Republican Party would have to n- not just fall back on some of those old conservative principles they're going to have to clean up some of this mess that Donald Trump left them. So, and that's not to say that the Democrats don't have their work cut out for them as well, because when I look at the Democrats, um, they're also, um, you know, in my opinion, in some ways heading in the wrong direction, and that's precisely why I left the Democratic Party. Right now I'm an independent. I will not go back into the Democratic Party unless they were to change certain things. And as far as their platform and their way of dealing with certain policies and how they are able to um, you know not get anything done because they're always like, okay, well, it's the Republicans' fault, it's not our fault, and we're not the ones to blame. It's them. It's them. At one time, we didn't have this. We could get some things done, but now you have a complete gridlock. There's nothing getting done. It's a miracle, and whatever little we got done during the pandemic is purely because of the pandemic, not because everybody was working together. Once all the lawmakers realized that the nation is in trouble, whether you're Republican or Democrat, this is going to be a pretty tough thing to get through. And if they didn't soften their positions a little and pass some of these stimulus bills and the first stimulus, the second one, they were expensive. We're looking at $2 trillion a piece, and now we're looking at the Biden is coming up with the infrastructure plan with another $2 trillion, and then so these are you know uh, all these things that they're trying to get done because of the pandemic situation that we're in. Infrastructure, basically, what Biden is suggesting is going to create jobs naturally. We saw that back in the day when FDR did that. He had to create the Works Project and all that, that took the nation out of the Great Depression. That's another, that's another video, and I can get into that, the little bit of history there and how we came out of the Great Depression. This is similar to it. The situation is very similar to it. Um, and I can draw the parallel in the next video to kind of explain what it is that I'm talking about. How is the Great Depression similar to this pandemic in this moment in time? So let me leave it at that, and then trying to keep these videos short so people don't get, um, you know, I don't get comments like these are long videos or anything. Most people, I think, are pretty fair as far as watching most of my videos. I never get any comments of that sort, but in the past, anyways, we're restarting this show now, and it's strictly online, so I'm not sure how all that works out, but we're going to try to keep these videos a little bit on the shorter side. That way, no one gets frustrated. But anyhow, the point about the Republicans and them basically working towards a new way of doing business is something they're going to need to do some heavy soul searching to figure out what it is that they need to do. And they know if they put their minds to it, they know exactly what the conservative mode is and how to revive themselves and how to appeal to various sectors of the American fabric. So I'm not in the business of advising the Republicans, but and you know, if you know, when someone looks at some of the points I'm making, you will understand that there is a lot of truth in what I'm saying there. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.